Oh, that kind of rap metal.
Is that rap metal?
I don't know, but if you told me that it was, I wouldn't really argue with you.
I'm
winning now.
What's going on, everyone? This is the Aggie Gameday Extra Podcast. I'm senior Texas A&M sportswriter Travis Brown, alongside the new normal, the new usual crew. Over there, chief meteorologist Max Crawford.
Hello. Move aside, Tyler.
Over there, not Tyler.
God.
Sports reporter Erin Patterson.
Hey.
What's going on?
How are you? I'm good.
You killed any bugs lately?
No, I have not.
Okay, well, that's good.
I haven't come up with a nickname for Erin yet, and I was trying to come up with one on the spot. Except I do think
you kind of have one.
Yeah, I have the market on Erin.
It's pretty good. I've never heard that one before either.
Good,
yeah,
actually,
it's a good one.
That's what we're gonna call her. That's what we're gonna call her.
Okay, well, Erin. I don't know if I can do it quite as good as you.
Almost had it. Okay.
We'll work on that. We're talking a little music before this.
We were
talking some bands.
We were.
Max, what is your when you were playing Sprots?
Yeah.
What was like your go-to music selection?
I was just telling Erin that, like, because she's got her live shot music and stuff, and a lot of reporters will have, like, before I go out to a big live shot, I do this, or like before a job interview. I don't really know. I don't really have any. I like to think I'm pretty eclectic.
I fully support this. You're a big Randy Rogers on the golf course fan.
I'll give you that. When we're golfing, I love country and classic rock, and then like just randomly throwing a hip hop song in there. Honestly, I would probably look for something that my brother had made 6 or 7 years before, which would include anything from like Limp Bizkit to Bone Thugs and Harmony. It's probably some Tupac and stuff like
Crossroads.
that. Yeah, right. But when we pregame for Flower Mountain High School football games, we would always play the Punk Goes Crunk album. And that might be my answer. Just I never chose that music, but that's what I think of.
Not the Disney Goes Punk?
No, but that's a really good one. That's a really good one too.
Well, we were talking, Erin, you do have, like, so you mentioned that you, before your live shots, you blast a little heavy metal.
Yeah.
Would that be what you did before sports too?
I don't really know if it was before sports. I feel like all of the pregame music that I was listening to was on a selected playlist by our team.
Yeah.
But at least for my travel teams, I was usually the one on aux. So it was kind of whichever. My music genre is very widespread because I can get down with heavy metal. I can get down with some oldies. I love 80s music if you put it on anything.
Hair metal.
Yeah. Hair metal. I like that. Yeah. But I'll also go on the other end of the spectrum where I'll listen to hip hop, R&B, pop, any type of music you put on, I guarantee you I will vibe with it. But yeah, heavy metal before a live shot, it gets me going.
Okay.
What about you, Travis? The White Stripes?
Yeah, anything
Is that
Jack
your
White.
answer?
Anything Jack White or any band that Jack White was in.
Okay.
I pretty much, that's what my Spotify DJ
You
knows.
did mention, I think, right before we started recording, Rage Against the Machine. That's a good one.
I do like some Rage. I'll listen to some Rage Against the Machine.
Sure.
It's a good pump up band.
Oh, wait now.
A little Kendrick. I like a little Kendrick before a sporting event.
That's a perfectly acceptable answer.
And then maybe just find something on the old Spotify.
The old radio dial.
The old radio, the old AM radio.
The old AM FM.
Wait, real question. What's your guys' go-to karaoke song?
Ooh.
I believe in a thing called Love by the Darkness.
That is risky.
It's very risky.
That is
high level. My vocals have to be in peak form in order to do that.
I was just thinking about this the other day. Because it came on my Spotify shuffle. I do enjoy a little Budapest by, what's his name?
Ooh.
It's pretty simple, pretty laid back.
It's a good song.
You can do some things with it. I like that.
Why can't?
But also,
Philip Phillips, is it?
No, it's George Ezra.
Ezra, yes. I was thinking better than Ezra, but that's like a '90s band. So yes, George Ezra.
That's a pretty easy one. Or if you want to get a little crazy with it, "Senorita" by Justin Timberlake.
Okay.
Because there's even like a call and response at the end. You get the crowd.
The cold open last week was me singing a Justin Timberlake song.
It was, yeah.
Which I think is called Signs. And it was one of like, it was a hit for sure because I heard it on the radio back in the day, but it was like one of the less popular ones from his like old Timbaland when he was just featuring all over the place. It had Snoop and another R&B singer.
If I could like memorize the runs, Tennessee Whiskey always is a good.
Oh, I love that song. I love that song. Yeah. That's my favorite country song of all time.
That's when you can get the whole crowd involved in.
Yeah. What's yours?
I will give you guys a guess. You guys can guess what genre it is. It's not what you're thinking.
Dixieland Delight?
It is not Dixieland Delight, although I could go hard for that one.
$1. Is it R&B?
No.
Okay.
I mean, is it like 80s hair metal?
No, it is rap.
Oh, it is rap.
Yeah.
Getting Jiggy With It by Will Smith.
Also a great song.
I actually know all the words
I was going to say I could do that one all the way through, too.
I don't know.
It is My Name Is by Eminem.
Nice.
Oh.
You know what? That is my go-to karaoke
I was going to guess
song.
what is it, the alphabet rap, the alphabeticals or something like that? Or no, that's not Eminem. I'm sorry. I'm thinking of something else. Anyway. Keep going.
Well, okay. Well, you want to give us a little sample, right?
I don't know if that's appropriate for the podcast.
That's a good point. We'll just go ahead and move on to the headlines this week because we got lots of them.
Yeah.
Let's start out with, of course, a little bit of football. Le'Veon Moss, running back, is going to be out for a significant period of time, according to head coach Mike Elko. He only had 5 carries in the game against Florida, and on that 5th carry, was hit hard. There was kind of some contact from behind. He was hit hard from ahead, and it looked like there was something going on with that ankle. Got a little twisted. So Mike Elko said that it's not related to the knee injury last year. It's not related to anything else he was dealing with earlier this year, and that he doesn't think it's season ending, but he will be out for a long period of time. Max, you're a resident A&M fan.
Sure.
They're on one hand, Le'Veon Moss, really good. On the other hand, they have the stable, as they call themselves back there. What is your level of concern on this one?
Yeah, low to moderate, I suppose. I think if there was a time for him to be injured, this is maybe as good a time as any, just considering where we are in the season, because obviously you wouldn't want it to happen at like Missouri or anything like that. So I would assume he's out for LSU, which stinks. And maybe you hope best case scenario you get him back for Mizzou, but I think at this point, if you're really trying to play the long game here and assume that there's going to be some postseason stuff beyond just a regular bowl game, then I think you feel okay about him being fresh, either for the last couple games of the year or the last game of the year and maybe an Atlanta trip, and we're maybe getting ahead of ourselves a little bit with that. But I think that's what you can hope for at this point, is that if we take care of business until he gets healthy again, you should still see significant time from him. I will also say, to quote Moneyball, I think we can recreate him in the aggregate a little bit. And if there was a starting position for us to lose somebody in, this might be the position that I would pick if I had to. And that is no knock on Levy, because I think he's a phenomenal talent, but as far as drop off in talent behind him, I think that's the shortest drop. Mm-hmm. Whereas if we were to lose somebody like KC or Mario, which KC news notwithstanding, I would be a lot more concerned. If we were to lose another linebacker, like if Scooby got hurt again or Samford got hurt, like that would be a lot more concerning to me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, Erin, what do you think?
I would have to agree with Max. I do think that out of all of the positions, at least offensively, the running back room has just been so stellar the past couple of games. And, I mean, you look at it from the perspective of Reuben Owens just came off having a really good game. Then Jamari Amaro came in last week against Mississippi State, had a great game. So I think it's a bummer, because I do think that he plays an intricate role in the offense, but I don't think there's the whole next man up mentality that we've been talking about for the past couple weeks. And I think that running back room is truly making that case true. So I don't know if it's going to hurt them. I would like to see them play against Arkansas, and I would like to see what kind of schemes they're running to see how big of a hit that it's going to take. But I think as of right now, I don't think it's going to be anything too bad.
I really am curious. I think Ruben Owens is the guarantee. I mean, like, we're going to see a lot of Ruben Owens.
Right.
He's going to be the bell cow. It's actually behind Ruben Owens that gives me that I'm interested in, not even like concerned in, just interested in, because you have EJ Smith, you have Amari Daniels. Amari Daniels has not gotten a whole lot of run this year.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have Jamarian Morrow, and they've really hyped up Jamarian Morrow a lot. Is he the next guy that they go to in this whole situation? Is he going to Ruben was already getting a decent amount of reps when Le'Veon was in. Is Le'Veon going out actually going to give Jamarian Morrow some more reps, not necessarily Ruben more reps, because they continue to kind of rotate some of those guys out?
It would not shock me at all to see all four play on Saturday. And to be honest, I might be putting the carriage ahead of the horse a little bit here, but I don't think we're going to truly know how much not having Le'Veon hurts until next week, because offense isn't really the concern for this Saturday. And I think most people, I think even Arkansas fans would tell you that. So I think we're going to move the ball without Le'Veon Moss just fine. I don't know how that's going to work necessarily against LSU at LSU. So I think this is a bigger loss for the LSU game than it is in the immediate, time frame. But the next, if there was a time, like I said, to pick for him to be out for multiple weeks, 2 of the next 3 weeks, I don't think we really need him.
On the other hand, we'll get into the matchup, but on the other hand, this is a high-powered Arkansas offense that can put points on the board. Would you want to maybe play a little bit more of a ball control game?
Yes, absolutely, it would.
Week?
And Ruben Owens showed you that he could do that.
Sure.
As did EJ Smith. I think Amari has not had to prove his pass catching ability all that much this season. Obviously, there was the one glaring drop that he had, but he's pretty good out of the backfield catching passes too. So yeah, I think that is the decision that you have to make is, what does that fourth quarter look like? How are you going to put the game away and things like that? It was very encouraging to see Ruben Owens and to a lesser extent EJ Smith fill that role just fine.
Let's touch on this just briefly because we don't have a lot of information on this yet. Just full disclosure, we're recording at 4:00 on Wednesday. And so we had Mike Elko on the SEC teleconference earlier. I asked him about Casey Concepcion's status because he was in and out of the game. ESPN was reporting that he might have had a little bit of a hamstring issue during the Florida game, and Mike Elko just said just kind of wait and see for the availability report tonight. I would speculation on my part, but he's never said wait and see, and the guy didn't show up somewhere on the report. He usually has been pretty forthcoming about if a guy is in or out. It's that probable questionable area that sometimes he hasn't necessarily revealed anything. So
see, now that you have brought that to my attention, that makes a lot more sense. But I almost took it as, you'll see when the injury report comes out, just that he wouldn't be on it. But you're right. I mean, he would probably just be like, yeah, he's good.
He doesn't, for the most part, play games with us.
Yeah.
I think that if he was going to be just straight out or just not on it,
yeah,
he would have just said, no, he's fine.
Right.
Because for the most part, when we've asked about guys, they've even at times actually when they've shown up on the report as like probable, he said they're fine. If I'm complete speculation here, I think he's going to be probably in that questionable range with how he answered that question.
I also happen to think that this adds another layer to the game. I don't think this obviously changes the end game result, but if I'm an Arkansas fan and I'm trying to get out to Bobby P's first head coach game since 2011, or I guess, 2011 coached game, I'm all of a sudden going, ooh, this game looks a little spicy all of a sudden.
Yeah, maybe.
Two of their best offensive players are out. So.
We'll get to that. Just any quick thoughts on Casey if he was out or in?
Yeah, I mean, I would have to agree with you. I think he'll probably be in that questionable range on the availability report just from what I saw on the field on Saturday. You could tell on certain carries that he had, certain receptions that he was getting up a little slow. Yeah. And you couldn't tell what it was. I mean, it was definitely lower body, at least from my perspective, what I was seeing on the field, but he was a little slow to be getting up on some of those tackles. So I think questionable would probably be the range I'd put him in as well.
They subbed him out for the last few punts, and Terry Bussey was back there taking those. So we'll get into some more of that in the matchup. Max, this is something that you were texting me about a lot, and that is A&M comes into this game ranked number 4 in the AP poll. That's the highest they've been since 2021.
Right, yeah, since postseason.
But it also harkens back to the season that this is being compared to the most, that 2016 season where they started 6-0. And I've been kind of getting this a little bit backwards at times. They started 6-0, then lost to number 1 Alabama, and then won another game, and then that's the one where they went into Mississippi State and lost. But but even though with that one loss, they went into that Mississippi State game ranked number 4 in the first college football playoff poll.
Was that when Anderson jumped over, like just absolutely Superman dove right into Trevor Knight? Was that Jonathan Anderson? Anyway.
The Alabama game?
Yeah.
I mean, it would have been the only time Trevor Knight was.
Yeah. Anyway. That's what a lot of the discussions in the Aggie sphere this week have been about getting over that hump. Obviously, in 2020, we finished 9-1, and so percentage-wise, that was the best record we've had in a very, very long time, and that was the highest postseason ranking that we've had in a very, very long time, et cetera, and so forth. I think a lot of people have been kind of comparing this team to 2016 a lot and saying like, yeah, we started undefeated, but there's still a lot of opportunities for loss in the rest of the season. You've got a 3-game road trip, which thankfully there's a bye in between LSU and Mizzou. I think that will be very needed, not from a scheming and preparation standpoint. I think just from a rest standpoint. Mm-hmm. But there's hesitancy from a lot of the older Ags who are like, I've seen this happen before, and I'm still not this, and I'm still not that. For me, I'm kind of in the middle. As much as we have talked about BAS on this podcast, we just have to bring it up again. Like my meter is like kind of wobbling a little bit on the bottom. It's like, should I be nervous about this game or not? And part of that is sure a little bit of BAS. Part of it is just because the Arkansas game is always weird. And then you throw in that the weather looks like it's going to be crummy. There's the interim head coach thing, which we have not had a lot of success with when visiting other stadiums. There's the offensive player injury. So there's just a lot of random little funky things going into this week that I think keep my brain from just all out writing this game off as a for sure victory, which I think unless something crazy happens, we're going to win. But the thing is, crazy things happen against this team all the time, and now they have us at home.
They always do. You always seem to have a little bit of your finger on the pulse of the top of the AP poll. Is this a good spot for A&M?
I think it is. I think with the way they played last week, we said it in our recap. There was no doubt that they were higher than a 5th-ranked team. I believe you and I said 3rd-ranked team, actually. But I think it's a good place for them. I don't know. Max, I know that you're an A&M fan and all of that stuff, so your hope's never going to be too high. But okay. I just don't. I think you're reading into it a little too much.
Yeah, I think you're probably right.
But that's also from the fan perspective. I get that. I do that all the time. So. Yeah.
Right, and part of the reason why my brain has been overriding a lot of that is if you compare this team to last season's team, and you compare this team to 2016's team, there are some very, very key differences here that I think are ultimately going to be shown in this game. And so the whole reason I brought all that up was to say, like, we're 6-0 now, and we obviously have this road trip coming up where each game is losable. I'm almost at the point to where I say, you know what, I can kind of forgive a loss to LSU and Mizzou, even if it's back-to-back. I can forgive that because I think that happens to good, even great teams. Like, you go and you play 2 really tough opponents on the road. One of them's a for sure night game. If we were to lose 2 in a row there, I think we would still have everything in front of us, though the wiggle room would be a lot lower. To me, this is the game that you cannot forgive. And the reason we will have wiggle room if we lose this game is because we took care of business against Notre Dame. But my whole thing is, if there was a game for us to go in just BAS mode, Aggie it up, it would be this game. This is the game that I'm more worried about than the other two, because if we lose the other two, I still think that postseason aspirations are all on the table. This is a game that, for me, for my sake, and I said this last year, and I'll say it every single year, we cannot lose this game. And it's almost why I kind of like am relieved, but also hate that we're not playing Arkansas every year anymore after this year.
It was as much of a rivalry game as A&M had for the majority of the time.
Aggies and Arkansas fans do not like each other, and they do not like playing each other. Aggies don't like Jerry World, even though we're, whatever the record is, like 11-4 or something like that in Jerry World. So there's this lot of spooky things around this, but on paper and in my brain, I'm like, this team is layered. It's found multiple ways to win. It is facing another test, especially against an offense that is probably the best that it will have faced. Maybe not. Maybe Notre Dame's offense was better. But it's another test, and I think it's another test that they are going to pass and probably, all things considered, pass with flying colors.
I want to move on real quick because this one's going to be one that we need to talk just a little bit more about, and that's shifting gears to men's basketball. I was in court all day Monday morning because men's basketball
Travis's
forward,
court case. I was in court the other day.
I was in court because of, that stuff. It's Rashawn Aggie, the men's basketball forward who transferred in from USC, was granted eligibility by the court in that hearing. He sued because the NCAA had to ask the NCAA for a waiver for another year on his 5-year clock to be able to play one more year of college basketball for the Aggies. That waiver was denied multiple times. There's still A&M still put out a kind of a formal request for them to reconsider that is still pending. But while that's pending, and since it's the basketball season's within a month now, Rashawn Aggie decided to go ahead and take legal action. They basically sued under the Pavia precedent that was set a few months ago.
You should coin that term, the Pavia precedent.
Which is that Diego Pavia, the quarterback for Vanderbilt, said that JUCO years should not count towards eligibility because you can't really make NIL money during the JUCO, and JUCO isn't governed by the NCAA. So why should the NCAA have any say on when what happens during those years? They filed it's an antitrust case saying that because of that they're suppressing wages and compensation. Aggie's situation was very interesting because his first season, 2019, he was an academic non-qualifier. He didn't make the grades, didn't make a good enough ACT grade. And so he went to New Mexico State, and they said, take some classes at New Mexico State, take some classes at this adjoining junior college, and you can still practice with us and stuff, and it won't start your clock. Well, it did actually start his clock, and they didn't know it, and he ended up getting hurt before practice even started, so he didn't even play that year. Not to mention then 2 years later, he went to another junior college, Casper College, to play, and so he basically filed under the same precedent saying, hey, Pavia said that in that ruling, they said that he wasn't able to make these wages. It was an antitrust violation, and it was a pretty cut and dry case that he was able to win pretty quickly. The good news for them is the way this should work is that since it's a temporary restraining order, keeping the NCAA from filing any enforcing that rule, the 5-year rule against Aggie, so they can't sanction A&M, they can't sanction him, they can't do anything with that, and it technically lasts up until this case goes to trial, or the NCAA clears him in a waiver and kind of drops their side of the case. But in all the lawyers that I talked to about this case, you can't decide an antitrust case in 6 months, and in 6 months the season will be over. And so ultimately, this was even though it isn't technically a final judgment, it was a final judgment because by the time really any of this happens, the season will be over. He'll be, maybe off to the NBA, off to somewhere else, and it won't really matter if it gets decided.
So, okay. And so my only question about this, because it sounds like there's the biggest hurdles have been cleared. If it does get to the to the point to where they say, oh, well, he wasn't eligible after all. There's no win vacating and he doesn't have to pay anything back or anything like that,
because
right?
there is a restraining order on right now. So anything that happens within this period is whatever the restraining. They can't go back and say, well, since we deemed you ineligible because of a trial, it's a restraining order. It's like this time doesn't exist within those rules.
So a G is an Aggie.
A G is an Aggie. And Bucky McMillan, first off, came out in trial that he is going to making $1.2 million in rev share.
Cool.
So that's an interesting little factor. He hasn't been paid yet. It was pending his eligibility.
Yeah.
So he will probably start pulling a paycheck here soon. And Bucky McMillan said on the stand that he sees him as being a guy who could be the face of the franchise, face of the program, because of his leadership, his personality, and his ability to play. Sees him as an NBA talent. So he has a lot of, when you're testifying that under oath, that is a lot of to live up to.
Yeah.
And then we'll close it out. Aggie volleyball moves up to number 14 in the RPI, though they took their first SEC loss. They're still cruising. Soccer, not so much. Their time is looking like it's about to run out this season.
Is soccer a conference tournament where a couple don't make it in?
Yes.
So A&M's probably not going to make it in.
If they need to win some games to be able to make it in.
Gotcha.
But even then, they might not be above the 500 threshold to make the NCAA tournament. So.
Over 40 years ago, my parents started C&J Barbecue, and today we continue to honor Dad's legacy with the best barbecue in the Brazos Valley. With locations on Harvey Road, Southwest Parkway, and our newest location on William Joe Bryan, we carry on our family tradition of serving up award-winning barbecue, sides, and desserts. We also offer delivery, catering, as well as custom menus and private chef services. Come visit us today for some of the best barbecue around. C&J Barbecue. The C is for Chip, the J is for Joe, and the barbecue is for you.
So yeah, let's go ahead and move on to the matchup. But we're going to start with a special feature here in the matchup to start things off because Max, weather seems to be playing such a big piece in this. But it is number 4 Texas A&M 6-0 against 2-4 Arkansas. They have not won an SEC conference game yet. The Razorbacks. It's Saturday at 2:30 p.m. at Razorback Stadium. The game will be broadcast on ESPN. So Max, let's go ahead and dial up the old radar here.
Let me also say, I've got a couple of things here to show you, and I'm gonna. We mentioned we're recording this at 4:00, so if I have to stop advancing graphics for a second, it's because Berkeley is doing her full weather on KBTX News at 4. But it's curious to me that this is the 2:30 kickoff, not so much, but it's 2:30 on ESPN when there is just such a wild slate of games this weekend. I still think that this is going to kind of be one that Arkansas fans and A&M fans are super interested in. And a reason I also think that is because I think there's a pretty decent chance that this game goes to streaming at some point, because I would be pretty surprised at this point if we're not talking either a delay or still rain at kick. So for those of my friends who are headed to Fayetteville to watch this game, a poncho or just a real sturdy rain jacket, I think is going to be a good idea, and even kind of negate that third bullet point if you just bring a sturdy jacket and like maybe some good moisture wicking pants or something, because you're probably going to get rained on, if not at the tailgates, at the game, or both. And so I say grubby boots, rain boots, whatever. It's stuff that you don't mind getting wet and dirty, and something to keep you warm, because assuming this front pushes through either over the course of the game or right before the game starts, there's a high likelihood that before the game is over, you're walking into a pretty hefty northwest wind, and it's going to come with some much cooler air too. So it's a very dynamic forecast. And like Travis mentioned, this is dated. You know, we recorded this around 4:00 on Wednesday. So if you're watching this on Friday or something like that, the forecast has probably changed. Let me show you, though. I just tried to advance a graphic. Okay. Making sure that I'm not messing up Berkeley, because it's on the same box and you've got here's the clicker. So anyway, here's the setup. It's a low pressure system coming through. The same front is maybe going to bring us a couple storms on Saturday. Much more likely that it brings storms, and strong storms at that. Kind of right in the middle there is Arkansas. That whole area is outlined by the Storm Prediction Center for a severe risk. I think Fayetteville's kind of on the outer edge of that. I think that's not as huge of a concern for me. It's more just big rumbles and maybe some strong gusts of wind. Little Rock, a little bit to the north and east there is probably a bigger severe concern for me right now. And like I mentioned, that front's going to come through. Looks like Saturday evening, Saturday night for us, maybe even Sunday morning, and there could be some storms for that here locally. But this is the latest look at our in-house model going into Saturday morning. And if this is the case, this might actually be a pretty decent case scenario for us because it's got morning storms out the wazoo there. It's at about 7 a.m. That's probably before a lot of people are out tailgating anyway, so it might be a wet start. And then we have to switch over to the low res, which by the end of this evening, we'll have high res that goes all the way through game time. This model's a little bit slower and still having rain around kickoff, but largely having it be pretty light rain. So the lightning delay is not a for sure foregone conclusion, but the potential for rain, not only as the game starts, but maybe on the back end of this system as it is exiting the area is also there too. So rain chance on Saturday, especially the first half of the day, is right at 70%. And of course, I advanced to the wrong graphic there. I think Berkeley's stuff is messing with me too. But the rain chance, you can take us back full. I've got it at 70% for the day itself. By game time, got that down to 50. This is something that I'm going to be updating on social media all the way through because, you know, we've got obviously interests in Fayetteville. But weather is going to play a factor at some point. It's either going to be raining or storming, or it is going to be very breezy behind that front having rain.
I would really enjoy it if there's no rain at all. Please.
That'd be nice, right?
Please.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's advice to y'all, too.
For my sake.
Something that y'all do not mind, maybe even throwing away, because if it gets muddy and stuff like that, I don't want y'all to have to worry about bringing that back on the plane and all that.
I will not.
So.
Well, we're driving.
So.
Okay,
we're going on a road trip.
Yeah. Love it it for you guys. Yeah, so that's where I stand right now. Weather is going to affect this game in some way. Elko said in the SEC teleconference that they're practicing with wet balls just in case.
Well, let me stop you right there because we have that right now. Let's go ahead and hear what head coach Mike Elko had to say about gearing up for what could be a weather game.
Yeah, I think you know, it's always challenging in advance to know what schemes and what that will look like. You know, there's a lot of different variations of weather. You know, there's days where it's a little bit rainy and you could still run the entire playbook. There's days where there's 40-mile-an-hour wind gusts and, you know, torrential downpours, and that obviously alters what you're capable of doing. And so I think you try to have a big plan to kind of adjust and adapt to the weather. We started doing some wet ball work today. We'll continue to do that tomorrow. That just basically entails kind of squirting the water bottles on the balls before we snap them, just so that our quarterbacks and our ball handlers get used to handling wet footballs. And we've done the same thing on special teams, and yeah, hopefully that gets us ready to go.
So as you were saying, Mike Elko's talking about using the spray bottles to get the balls wet, have the quarterbacks get used to those, have the running backs get used to those.
Yeah.
Both of you, does if weather is a part of this, if rain is a part of this whole equation, does it change your thoughts on the game or how it'll go at all?
No. I think at this point, at this level of football, I don't think that weather should ever really play a massive factor.
Yeah, unless it's a blizzard, right?
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, unless it's something crazy where, you know, Texas rarely sees snowstorms. So unless it's something to that degree, I don't think it's something that should really ever play that much of a factor. And like Elko said, they are still prepping for it. So if you're prepping for it and you're at this high level of football, I don't think it should really change that much of the outcome.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And it's actually for a couple of reasons. Some things that the team has done this year and from our infamous Twitter space that we had last year whenever they had to deal with this at Florida.
It's one of my favorite moments of my time at KBTX.
They were out there for the Florida game. They got to play a little bit, and they had to do a weather delay, and they came back. And, you know, Florida tried to inch back a little bit, but ultimately they took care of business just fine. And so if that team already had that maturity and poise to deal with weather delays and stuff like that, I don't think that this team's going to have a problem with that either. I think, if anything, a weather delay could maybe even help take the crowd out of it. So, yeah, I would maybe say play slight advantage to us just because, like, We haven't been on the road all that much this season, but they showed that they loved being on the road against Notre Dame. They loved it. They loved the A&M fans there and all that.
If I could get the recording of that Twitter space from last year, I would absolutely
I wonder if you could. You might
use
be able to
it.
go back.
I might, if I can find it, it will be the cold open of this podcast, because I could not. We had Max at home talking forecast. I was up in the press box. Tyler Shaw was down on the field, and I could not hear Tyler at all. So I would just kind of pitch to Tyler, "Hey, Tyler, so what are you seeing down the field?" And he would apparently be talking.
Yeah, he gave you some good information.
And I would just cut him off. "Well, I don't guess we got Tyler here." And he's like, "Well, okay, whatever."
Tyler would just go, "Okay."
Yeah. So
all right.
So hopefully, if there's weather, A, we will have a Twitter space for you, and B, it will go a little bit better than last time. Erin, get ready for that. Get ready for me just cutting you off.
I'm looking forward to it.
We're wrangling 2 kids instead of 1.
Yeah.
So that'll be a lot of fun.
How the world turns.
Yeah. It's always fun when weather does that, which, by the way, Kentucky and Texas, I forget what time that kick is, but weather could be a factor in that game too, for sure.
Well, the one thing that I'm interested in here, that I think weather could play a part in, and that is Bobby Petrino's offense. Bobby Petrino loves the deep ball. Yeah. He loves taking shots. He loves throwing it downfield. And if there is, as former offensive coordinator Daryl Dickey has said in his film studies with us, as it is just true by looking at the stats, the deep ball is a low percentage pass to begin with. Mm-hmm. It is a low percentage play. If you add raindrops getting into eyes, a little bit of a wet ball, something that you need to have that much touch on, that could necessarily affect their output. We're looking at the tail of the tape here. Arkansas is 6th in the country in total offense. They're averaging 511.5 yards per game. A&M's offense has been great this year. They're 25th in the nation, 258.5 yards per game in those. It's the defense that has really been failing the Razorbacks this year. They're 120th in the country, allowing 435 yards per game. A&M's defense, on the other hand, top 20, it's 19th at allowing 294.5 yards. Would probably be even better if it wasn't for the fact that they had faced a pretty good offense in UTSA.
Yeah,
earlier. They don't have that one more gimme game. Turnover margin, Arkansas, not great, 119th. They've been turning the ball over. They've had 2 games. I think it was the Ole Miss and the LSU games where they fumbled in the red zone when they had a chance to win it in the fourth quarter. Hog tears everywhere.
I was going to say it very well could have been those 2 games, but it also happened against Memphis. That very well might have been the nail in the coffin.
It was Ole Miss and Memphis.
For Pittman. Yeah. All they had to do was run out the clock and I think maybe get a field goal to win it, or they might have even had the lead. No, they just needed a field goal. They just needed a field goal. Mm-hmm. And Arrington, the former College Station High quarterback, is the one who got the first down for Memphis to seal that game.
I remember that, yeah.
But yeah, turnover prone, and obviously that was a running back who fumbled that, but Taylon Green has kind of shown that where he is, I think he's a lot like Marcel Reed in that he's very streaky. He can make plays with his legs. I think Taylon Green's a little better, a little more natural on the deep ball than Marcel is, and I think that's really the only true advantage that Taylon Green has over Marcel Reed. And I think if we're just kind of breaking it down position by position, to me, that's the only position advantage that Arkansas has. I could be wrong about maybe their receiver talent, but I just think that if you're trying to do it matchup by matchup, position by position, the only thing that I would give advantage Arkansas to is quarterback.
Mm-hmm. Pro Football Focus would agree with you. Taylon Green, 88.1 on the season.
I mean, he has proven not only that he's a very capable quarterback, but and I think Bobby Petrino has a large part in this, but that they had a little bit of a roster exodus at the end of last season. I think a lot of players saw the writing on the wall, and Taylon Green was one of the ones who stayed. And sure, there probably was NIL money that had to play into that, but I think he trusted Bobby Petrino. I think he said, no matter what, like, I think he's putting me in a really good position to succeed, and obviously that has been the case this year. Now, they've got some stat padding games, but they also, they put up some points against Tennessee. They kind of came roaring back there where it seemed like Tennessee kind of had it all but wrapped up, and all of a sudden they made it interesting with like 2 or 3 minutes left in the game. So yeah, the offense is a little bit spooky. If not for Talon Green, I would have next to no worries about this game. But he is a dynamic dude who has shown that he can make plays.
So Erin, something that we've talked about a lot in our post game breakdowns is A&M's third down defense.
Yep.
I mean, they are, what was it, 2 for 32 over the last 3 games?
I believe so.
Which on the season, they're the number one third down defense with opponents getting a conversion of 20.8% of the time. On the flip side, though, this might be like the biggest matchup in the game. Arkansas is third in the country in third down offense. They convert at 57.1%. That third down battle is going to be really fun to watch. Now, A&M's offense, 82nd in the country. They convert on 38.8% of third downs. And Arkansas, just in the total defense, it struggles even on third down as well. 44.6% of the time opponents convert on that. Erin, do you see this as one that the A&M offense, or excuse me, the A&M defense can come out strong like they have, or this high-powered Arkansas offense might take over some of that third down credit?
I agree with you. I think it's going to be a toss-up. I think this is I don't think it's the overall best offense A&M has seen, but I do think the third down defense is going to struggle a little bit more than they have. Now, that's not to say I don't think that they're just going to suck. I think it's just going to be a little bit more of a struggle. But overall, I mean, when you look at those stats, A&M is overall the better team. It's really just the Arkansas offense that has good placings in the nation. When you look at their defense, it's kind of okay, So I don't think that it's going to be a massive struggle for A&M, just as long as they can keep the offense clicking, because if you have Arkansas's offense, which is they're going to put up points, I think no matter what, I think it's just going to need to be A&M that can answer back. So I think it's going to be an offensive battle with this game. And of course that does start with A&M's defense. If they can continue on the path that they're going down, I think it's going to be a good game, but I think the third downs is definitely going to be a struggle for the defense, or at least more than it's been.
So Max mentioned Talon Green, the quarterback matchup being one that he's really focused in. What matchup, what part of the game has your attention the most?
I would probably say the quarterback matchup as well, but overall, I do think it's going to be just the defense putting a stop. I think that is what I'm looking forward to most watching, just because, as we've been saying time and time again, the defense has just been lights out, and I'm very curious to see if this Arkansas offense actually has what it takes to kind of maybe put a riff in their momentum, and how A&M in turn can respond to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the marquee matchup is what can Talon Green do against our defensive backfield and stuff like that. We saw Des Ricks kind of get picked on early in the game last week, and all credit to him, a little bit of coverage switch up, which I think I believe I saw a statistic about how Talon Green does in zone versus man coverage that will probably run a lot of zone.
So how about Mike Elko? Were you watching the halftime? Did you see the halftime interview?
I still haven't seen it.
That reporter got just totally gaslit into the fact that A&M, yes, they were running press man coverage early. They did switch to a little bit more zone, but Mike Elko just was having none of that. So
I think that would have been a better question for at the end of the game.
Fair.
And not at the halftime.
Fair.
But yeah, I think that's the marquee matchup is how is this vaunted defense going to do against an offense that can clearly score points? And are they both going to kind of come back down to earth a little bit with that? Like, is it going to be a little bit of a stalemate? I think this is a point where Petrino's going to shine, and I think it's going to be a little bit like the Florida game where those scripted plays work really, really well, and then A&M's defense just kind of clamps down. So I think what my prediction is here, it's going to be a very frustrating first quarter, and then probably a frustrating 1 or 2 series out of the half. And I think most of the rest of the game is going to be relatively stress-free for A&M. That is assuming, though, that A&M is still able to move the ball without Le'Veon Moss for sure, potentially without KC. I think that's kind of a sneaky matchup to see this completely clean house type of defensive staff that is now in there and, allowed 34 points to Tennessee, but Tennessee's, pretty good offense. So I don't know that it's a given that we're going to move the ball on them. I do think it's pretty likely though. So that might end up being a sneaky little thing where it's at halftime, it's like 10-7 or something like that. And you're thinking, well, I didn't really expect that. I don't think it will be. But
possibly, I can see this as possibly being a big game for A&M's tight ends.
Tight ends, I think all the big men, right? Like all the offensive line and tight ends, this is their opportunity to say, yeah, you know what, we are that good. And second half, you guys are ours. And you want another 8, 9, 10-minute drive. Okay, you got it. We're going to do that. And we're going to score and keep your offense off the field. If that's the type of game that it needs to be, we've shown that we can do that, I think, against a much better defense in Florida and against Auburn. So the second half is not what concerns me. What concerns me is that by halftime they're still kind of in it and they start to believe a little bit that maybe they can come away with the victory. But that's where I'm sitting with it.
I do agree. I think the tight ends are going to be used far more against Arkansas, and I think against Florida this past weekend we saw them start to be used a little bit more. So I'm curious as to if that was kind of hey, let's do a test drive. Let's see how this works. Let's see how this type of offensive scheming works. And so I'm wondering now if we're going to see it even more.
Could be a big game for I could see this being maybe a Amari Niblock game.
Yeah.
If KC is out, you want to have some more options out there. Maybe
can you imagine the size disadvantage potentially too, like having Niblock in the wideout and still having another tight end on the field.
I mean, it's always a Colin Klein special, but a lot of 21 personnel, maybe even some 22 personnel.
That's what we saw to finish up the Florida game, correct? Yeah, and I mean, if we're getting push and we're getting to the point where Taylor Green is just gashing us, maybe that does become the strategy towards the end of the game. Is you try to win by that 1 or 2 possessions and just keep the ball away from them. And I think we've proven against a better defense that we can do that. I mean, one of the craziest things that I saw last week that gives me so much confidence in the rest of the season moving forward was the very first play from scrimmage when we dared them to stop the deep ball and Klein and Elko both trusted Marcel to finally hit that deep ball. Very first play. I love that. And he did. Of course he did. It shows they have faith in their quarterback. And then I think almost even more that I like is it was so clear after the first run, maybe 2, that we were just going to try to run the clock out. And there was, 11 minutes left in the game. And I was like, that's a lot of clock to run out. But it was so obvious. And I think it was a 14-play drive where we ran it 13 times and drained 8 minutes of clock. And they knew what was coming every single time, and they could not stop it. And that is the closest thing to that 2020 offense that we had. That was the most successful that A&M's had since Johnny. And that just kind of told me, like, okay, there's another way we can win. So you put together, the sneakiness of Bobby Petrino and his offensive, whatever the opposite of ineptitude is, and Taylor Green being really good and stuff like that, and home field advantage for the first time since 2013. And then you say, okay, but I think we can meet that challenge perfectly fine because we've passed all the other tests this year. So why wouldn't we pass this one?
Score prediction?
I don't know. I truly maybe y'all go, and I might just kind of slightly adjust what y'all say.
What are you thinking about the game and score prediction, Erin?
42-21.
Okay.
A&M.
Okay.
I think it's gonna be. I feel like I've been saying this for the past couple weeks, and I'm saying, oh, it's going to be a high-scoring game. I think this one will actually be a high-scoring game.
Okay.
All right, mister, I got the prediction exactly right the last game. What's your prediction for this one?
I should have just dropped that in here.
Nah, I already don't have to talk about it anymore.
Shown exactly. Yeah. I think this one is, like, just about every Arkansas game I've seen has always come down to the last drive in the fourth quarter, except for the one that wasn't at AT&T Stadium. So there's also that. But this is in Arkansas. I think a big factor of this is not only, a lot of times you have the interim coach situation where the coach gets fired, and then you just know they're playing to get through the season. Bobby Petrino is coaching for this job.
Right.
We all know that he is, which is not necessarily always the case in these situations. And Bobby Petrino's biggest selling point is that he puts points on the board. And so I think this is an Arkansas team with it first time with him back as the head coach in Arkansas, like you said, since 2011, coaching being the CEO of the game. I think they are going to go for broke. I think because I think he can justify a loss in this game if they put up a lot of yards and a lot of points, because they can say, hey, okay, Arkansas, we lost that game, but we put up so many points against one of the best defenses in the country, and we put up so many yards that this was a win for him in that pursuit of the head coaching job. So they're going to take some shots. I think they might try some trickeration. I think they might go for it on some fourth downs. I think they're going to go for broke, and that's going to make things really crazy, especially if it's rain. The series is always the thing that I thought of earlier is something like 45-40.
That's
like
close.
Coming down to a possession. This just feels like a game that is going to be high scoring, and it's going to be closer than. I mean, I don't think anybody thinks it's not going to be super close. Just, I don't know. 45-40 is what stood out to me. I'm trying to look at.
Was the final score of the last matchup with A&M and Texas Tech. 45-40.
Well, there you go. Little Southwest Conference, Big 12.
A&M's defense was much worse that year than A&M's defense this year, though.
I think Arkansas is just going to go for broke in this one, and they're going to get some yards and they're going to get some points. Let's see. Scoring defense, Arkansas has let up 30 per game. Scoring offense, they've put up 36.3 per game.
Let's talk about.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with 45-40.
Okay, that's fine. I would be pretty disappointed if they scored that many points against us. But at the end of the day, this is so much a win is a win and a conference win is a conference win type of game. And so I'm fine. I'm fine no matter what if we get away with a win. But I don't think we're going to give up 40 points. But I could see something like towards the end of the third quarter, we are up 2 or even 3 possessions. And just like you said, they kind of go for broke and say, well, we're not done yet. and we are going to not put our foot off the brakes or foot off the gas. And so I'm kind of going more like a 38-31 or even a 38-34 type of game. Okay. That it becomes that 31 or 34 kind of late in the game, and we just have the ball at the end and just kind of ice it and say, okay, we're just not going to let you get the ball anymore. So I do think it's going to be a close game. I think the spread is 8.
Yeah.
7.5, 8. And I think that's a perfect number for that. This is not
5.
Okay, this is not the type of game that I would pick A&M to cover. I don't think it's the type of game that I pick Arkansas to cover. This is the type of game that I would stay away from or just take A&M money line. Not that anybody should ever ask me for sports betting advice. But yeah, I'm going to go like a 38-31.
All right. So everybody has A&M winning. I think I would prefer your outcome. It makes it a lot easier on us post game. So
yes.
Let's root for that a little bit because I'm always rooting for my copy. That's the most important thing. Let's go around the SEC real quick. And I got a good one. We're getting out of the state of Florida for once, and we're going over to Alabama.
Woo!
Now right now in Alabama we have the SEC tip-off. The men's and women's basketball coaches are out there in Birmingham. Well, just a little bit north of there in Hoover, which is a suburb of Birmingham. There is a store in the River Chase Galleria. That is the mall right there where SEC Media Days for football was held for years and years. There's a hotel attached to it. It's one of the biggest malls in Alabama, supposedly. And Kitty Cat Heaven and Rescue, which I think is housed in this mall, posted an update on Facebook that there was animal control was working all day to get a cat off the roof of the mall. And it was up there. And the thing that caught my eye to this was that the organization put out there that they really appreciated everyone's concern, but just issued the warning of please do not attempt to climb on the roof and stop calling the Galleria.
Please stop calling us. We are aware.
Yeah, and I just want to know who is climbing on the roof of a mall to get a cat.
An animal lover. Animal lovers are. Animal lovers would do that. There used to be this cat that we would track on top of the Queen Theater from our live eye view in downtown Bryan.
Okay.
That during the morning show we would see like kind of walking around on the roof and stuff. I don't remember if we named it or not or anything, but we also kind of wondered like, is that cat supposed to be there? But it lived there, I think. So I don't know.
Probably lots of
that's who would climb up there trying to save them is an animal lover who thinks that they would be helpful.
You know what I've
Galleria says you are not helpful.
No. But also though, cats have 9 lives. They're very stealthy and falling and all of that stuff. So I think they should have been good, but
we're all dog people in here too, right?
Well,
so
yeah.
Who
I do like
cat?
cats. I do like cats, but I am more of a dog person for sure.
So I've gotten into, sometimes I scroll through the YouTubes when I'm trying to fall asleep at nights. Max, you're aware of this.
Yeah.
And one of the things I've run across every now and then, it's not like my favorite go-to genre. One of the genres is the abandoned mall explorer.
Oh, those are so cool.
So I see TikToks about that. So yeah, I'm in.
And maybe this cat, this mall isn't dead yet. No. So maybe this cat just thought he was trying to get into one of those abandoned malls.
Get some cheap real estate.
I always think of like old school Tony Hawk Pro Skater.
There you go.
Going to abandoned
now we're talking.
I would like to make note, I barely mentioned Alabama. I said Roll Tide only once.
You did good.
And it is the 3rd Saturday in October, so smoke them if you got them.
I'm telling you, man.
That's all I'm going to say.
It is another loaded weekend. Last weekend was kind of like, even though there was chaos, it was at first glance, it was like, I wonder if this weekend, as crazy as it looks, it's just going to end up being like, everybody won who we thought they won. But Alabama, Tennessee is going to be a good one. I'm also really excited to see LSU Vanderbilt.
Yep.
That's going to be a great game.
Be a crazy matchup. I think Arizona State is going to give Tech a run for their money. What is that? Ole Miss, Georgia.
How about Texas Tech? Top 10 in both total offense and total defense this year. Top 10.
Also, top 10 in football and men's basketball. The only one in the country to do it. History.
Max Crawford, everyone. Max Crawford, everyone.
Whatever.
I think that's about all the time.
USC, Notre Dame, that's a good one too. Anyway.
Yeah, I think that's all the time we have now that Max has busted out his baby voice. We'll be Erin and I will be up there in Arkansas to cover everything that's going on up there.
Pray
with the
for
Aggies.
no rain.
Yeah, no rain would be preferable. Max, get on that.
We'll see.
Be sure to check his socials, his broadcasts. I'll be sure to, if he tags me in them, I'll retweet them to get them out of there so we can get you the best update for all those who are going up there watching and who, want to know if the game's going to be delayed on the old TV. Check out Erin on the 5, 6, and 10 as well, and we'll have all kinds of stuff leading up to that game on KBTX.com. So, for Erin Patterson, Max Crawford, I'm Travis Brown. This is the Aggie Game Day Extra Podcast. We'll see you next week.